Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Sorry, it's been 2 weeks because I have been crazy busy, and I'm glad to have given myself a break. There was just like at some point last weekend I was like, there is zero time to record. That's just gonna be how it is. Couldn't record on Saturday, couldn't record on Sunday, couldn't record on Monday. It wasn't gonna happen. Couldn't record on Tuesday either. I thought about recording on Tuesday morning and then my whole work schedule got messed around so that I had to go for a run in the morning. And I just was like, you know what? We're just gonna take a week off and that's fine. There are things I can take a week off from. This is one of them. There are things I cannot always take a week off from without much careful planning, but this, no problem. I am super pleased to report that it is finally feeling like autumn here in the mid-Atlantic. Yeah, we had a rough hurricane this weekend. I mean, it wasn't a hurricane. It was technically a tropical storm. It wasn't really even that windy. It was pretty chilly and it rained quite a lot, but it wasn't like really dangerous winds, which was good because I went to a wedding with my parents out in Frederick, or a bit north of Frederick near Camp David in Thurmont. Yeah, it was a really nice couple. My mom was the officiant of the wedding. I don't think she was the matchmaker. She just like is the reason that these two people met because they were first years in the honors program at the university where she works, and she was the dean of the honors college, and she hosted these Cookie Tuesdays every week, and students would come and she would bake cookies for them in the dorms, and these two people met through that. Anyway, I was the one who said they're gonna get married. I might have told the story already on Tiny Desk Knitting. Regardless, I was like, Mom, they're such a cute couple, and she's like, they're not a couple, and I was like, oh no, they will be, don't worry. I see it, and I was right. So anyway, these two really lovely people, a couple years younger than me, they just got married. My parents were here for the weekend, which was really nice. I also got to go to Magpie Fibers in Frederick, which was, as always, a treat. Got some yarn from my mom for her birthday, which was great. And I'm working on this sweater for my dad. His birthday already happened, but I got him something else that he wanted, and then I was like, in a couple weeks I will send you a sweater, I promise. So I'll show you that. But I am wearing my visiting cardigan by Stella Ackroyd. This is in Lina 11. It's the purple one. It came out. I can picture where I went to dinner with Nitin the night that I got this. We went to this Ethiopian restaurant in Silver Spring, and I brought it to show him, and that's why I remember that. So it must have been like spring of 2021, like March or April of 2021. Yeah. So anyway, this is knitted out of Wensleydale Aran weight, from the Wensleydale Sheep Shop in England. I got it from them 8 years ago, and finally about last May, I made this about a year and a bit ago, almost a year and a half ago. I had like 5 balls of the darker blue and 1 of the lighter blue. Initially, I think I probably got it thinking I would make like a colorwork yoke sweater, but I ended up making this, which I like so much better for this yarn, and just it's like really cozy. So this is just like a big cozy cardigan, and I wear it over my like athleisure at home with my leggings and my little yoga tops because it's that time of year. So I'm really happy to be wearing it, and I got to wear a sweater like every day this weekend. The hotel room my parents and I were staying in was so cold that I wore a wool sweater like at night. Both nights we were in the hotel room. My parents kept it cold on purpose, and it was like kind of nice. My body had a hard time kind of regulating its own temperature, I think, because it wasn't actually that cold outside. It was kind of chilly outside, but it was really, really cold in our hotel room, and it had been very warm here. So it was kind of like, I think, a shock to my system. I was really tired today. Like, went to church. My parents and I were in Frederick, so we drove down to DC like early this morning so I could sing church, and afterwards we were like having a bite to eat before they went to the airport really quick, and my mom was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just really tired." Like she thought I was sick, and I was like, no, I'm just really tired. It's like, you know, it was a lovely weekend. Had a really good time at the wedding, got to dance, got to see all sorts of fun people that I know or I hadn't seen in a long time. My parents were here. It's really nice to spend time with them, but yeah, it's been a little crazy. So I have actually done a lot of knitting and spinning in the past couple weeks, despite my busy schedule. So I'm gonna get to it. I'll link this in the show notes. I'll link the yarn to, the Woolly Thistle has this Wensleydale yarn in like fingering weight. So if you want this yarn in fingering weight, you can get it from there. Otherwise, I will link the Wensleydale Sheep Shop where you can purchase it from the UK and it will get shipped to you wherever you live. Wensleydale, by the way, it's important to know this. Pure Wensleydale yarn like Wensleydale sheep have a really, really, really long staple length. So their fleeces have a long staple length, which means the actual hairs of the sheep, like that you shave that are in the fleece, are really long. It'd be like if, you know, we spun human hair, it'd be like someone with really long hair. So it's like, you know, Teeswater, Wensleydale, these like sheep with really long locks. They're kind of like, they're not quite as crimped tightly like they're usually, because they're so long, the weight of them kind of gives them this drape and this curl. It's really beautiful. It doesn't have a super low micron count, which means it's not super soft, like to the touch. I don't find Wensleydale itchy at all, but it is definitely like, you know, it's a maybe yarn for a lot of people. It's not necessarily like their first choice for a super soft, cozy sweater. So I do want to like warn against that. Like if you're not sure, maybe get like a couple balls of the fingering weight yarn from the Woolly Thistle and knit like a hat or something and see how your skin likes it. As I always say, and as the people in Shetland say, if it's scratchy, it means it's not cold enough. Like wait till it gets a little colder and then wear it. But like for something that you're gonna wear indoors, like a cardigan like this, if you're more sensitive, this might not be the right choice for a yarn for you. So if you want something with a similar amount of drape, go for something like you know, merino silk, merino yak nylon or something, or merino, like something with a little bit of alpaca in it, maybe. You know, some kind of blend that has some long wools in it. John Arbon Devonia, that doesn't come in Aran weight, but it comes in DK weight and fingering weight. And it has a nice drape. So something like that might be good. But yeah, I have been doing a lot of knitting and spinning. Very proud of the fact that I finished Cathedral for my friend Jennifer. I did run out of yarn. So I played Yarn Chicken and I did the three fan vaulting things, and then I was out. I was like, I got enough for a collar and that's it. So I just decreased to make a collar, and I think this will not be a problem. It will just not be such a deep yoke, but that's okay. It's a cropped jumper. Jennifer's gonna probably wear it over dresses and stuff. She likes to do that, but this is my friend Jennifer is having her birthday. She's having a big milestone birthday. Just over a week. So I'm gonna send this out to Canada tomorrow, and I don't think it will probably arrive in time because post takes a while, international post. But I'm happy that I had it done before her birthday, so I could at least get it off my needles and, you know, and send it to her. And I hope that it fits. If not, I think the only thing I would have to adjust is the neckline, but that's okay. I can do that if need be. I can make it wider, I can make it narrower, especially if I get another ball of this. I can work my magic. But I think it will be fine. I'm not super worried. Yeah. Okay. I didn't bring like everything I'm working on just because I'm tired. And I'm like not, you know, it's just like, I'd rather talk about the things that I, you know, more about fewer things. So actually I should talk a little bit more about this. So this yoke, because I had knitted part of it last time I spoke to you. I think I'd done like the first bit of this. So did two more. This is not super tricky. The yoke pattern, it's twisted stitches and it's lace, which is not too tricky. Like, you know, in the long run, like if you can make twisted stitches and you can make lace, you can make this. What I will say is that it's just kind of like a little fiddly. Like that's it, you know, switching back and forth. It definitely means your brain has to be pretty on. You can't mess up a twisted stitch. It'll be super obvious. So, I mean, I probably have a few that I didn't twist, but like on the whole, yeah, you really have to be careful with something like this. So, and the lace pattern means that the yoke grows until you get to the top of this kind of outward pointing V, and then all of a sudden it all shrinks in really fast because you're doing all these decreases in the fan vaulting sections. And so then you're left with fewer stitches here, so you're and then you're doing the same thing, so the yoke is growing and growing on, there's more stitches on the needles instead of fewer, and then all of a sudden it comes back really tight. So someone is doing like construction outside my house, maybe on a Sunday. I don't know what that is. Regardless, yeah, it was a little fiddly. I also had to alternate skeins because they did not have 8 skeins of the same dye lot at unit. And this pattern for the large size, which I knit, said it needed 8 skeins or 8 balls. You need 9. That's not correct. That's maybe 10. Honestly, I'd get 10 if I were gonna do this again. In this size, I'd get 2 extras because I don't want to be playing yarn chicken. Again, I don't like yarn chicken. I always can figure it out. Like, you know, people do. You figure the better, you know, the more adept you get at knitting, the more adept you are at yarn chicken, the more adept you are at just like coming up with a solution to the problem. Like, okay, we cannot finish the yoke of the sweater. What are our options? At this point, you know, I couldn't go back and make it smaller. It's already cropped. So I was like, we're just going to finish it here. And that's fine. I understand, you know, how to finish the pattern so that I can go right into the yoke or into the ribbing. And that is just going to be how it is. So yeah, it was challenging. It was fun. I might make it again. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of twisted stitches. I find them a little fiddly. But you know, everybody has what they like. Like, I love stranded color work so much. I love lace too, actually, but I really love stranded color work. And a lot of people just can't stand stranded color work. So I totally understand, like, everyone has their own jam with knitting. The thing I really just most wanted to do when I got home was drink a cup of tea. Not a hoarder. I'm a yarn connoisseur. I don't hoard yarn. I use it. I collect it and then I use it. And I try to use more than I take in. And I've actually done a pretty good job of that this year, although with spinning, you know, you're always adding more skeins. So you have a fiber collection that turns into a yarn collection. So, but I don't really like go and buy a lot of sweater quantities anymore. Can you tell I'm just like so tired? I feel like I'm just like a lot less aggressive right now. I'm just kind of like, woo. Like, I'm just, it's not the tired that I was 2 weeks ago when I last recorded. It's like a different type of tired. It's just like it's like a happy tired. I'm just happy to be home and talking about knitting. And like, this is kind of I have lots of happy places. I think I'm a pretty, you know, affable person on the whole. You know, I try to be in a good mood and stuff, but sometimes I feel like I'm like really like, okay, now I'm going to talk about this. Now I'm going to talk about this. Okay, now I'm going to talk about this. Like, when I have more energy, I'm just kind of like, whoa, like I'm like the Energizer Bunny, and right now I feel a little bit more relaxed. Yeah. What I feel really good about is the fact that the Ravens are playing this afternoon, and I probably got the last spot in Fed Hill, which is my neighborhood. I live close to the stadiums, the baseball and the football stadium in Baltimore. So the Orioles play, it's not really a big deal. They're really good about ticketing on Orioles days. They're not as good at ticketing on Ravens days because, like, I guarantee that like a third of the people parked in my neighborhood do not have a parking sticker for Fed Hill. And on Tuesdays, you're supposed to get a ticket after 2 p.m. They never do that most of the time. Like, people can park overnight here and no one cares. But on game days, they do, and for the Orioles. And so I'm like, why does this not matter for the Ravens? It's way worse for us. It's so much worse for us because the Ravens are really good. The Orioles are actually really good now too, this year. But oh my gosh, the Ravens are like, it's just madness in this neighborhood. So I couldn't avoid driving today. Like last year, I was really like good about this whole like the Ravens schedule and like not driving anywhere on Sundays, and I would like put up the schedule of Ravens home games on my whiteboard, so I always like me and the girls knew when the games all were, so we could like remember not to drive anywhere that day, or like, you know, not come back till late, or like, you know, get someone to give us a ride if we want to go somewhere, whatever, walk to the grocery store that day. But I can't really avoid it now for church music. So normally I would just go with Monica or like one of my other carpools in Baltimore. There's a couple of other people who live in Baltimore, but I couldn't today because I was in Frederick with my parents. So I had to drive to DC, drop them off at the airport after church, and then come back here. So I had to leave my car somewhere, and I just like pulled up to the house, unloaded everything because I had like my whole weekend's worth of stuff plus groceries in my bag. So I just like unloaded, and then I was like, oh God, here we go. Here we go. You can't even find a place in the metered section. So but I think I got the last spot in Fed Hill. It was a really tight spot. It was right behind the exact same car that I have, a bright blue Honda Civic. And I was like, I can fit there if I have to. And I just like thanked all of the parking gods and all of the like, whatever, like my past self for like being a nanny and like learning how to squeeze a Honda Odyssey into any spot in DC. Like safe parallel parking, and I was really far, not super far from the curb. It was a really wide street, so I know it doesn't matter, but like I was pretty far from the curb. Like I didn't do a great job that way, but I was like, I am not doing this again. I don't care how far away I am from the curb, as long as I'm not in the lane. Like we're good. I'm in the spot. I'm not gonna get towed. Like that's all I cared about at that point. I was just like so stressed that I wouldn't find a spot, but I did, and I'm here. I'm so happy, and I'm gonna make soup. I got a rotisserie chicken. I had to go to 2 grocery stores because they didn't have rotisserie chickens at Giant. So I went to Harris Teeter after, and they did have them there. So I was gonna make my chicken stock and then start recording, but then the chicken is too hot, and I've like made the mistake of dismembering a rotisserie chicken while it's still really hot and just like burning my hands. So I remembered that today. That's rare that I remember things like that, honestly. I'm super good at remembering details about people. I am super terrible about remembering details about anything that isn't people. So, as everyone knows about me. But I remembered to put it in the fridge to then do the dismemberment of my chicken later. But yeah, it's like finally sort of soup season. It's like 65 degrees today. Yeah, might go for a run. Just kind of want to like get some of my physical energy out of my body so that I sleep really well tonight. Might just go for a walk. We'll see. Okay. Nit and I ran like 10K on Friday in Frederick, and it was just like, it was like slow. We did a long, slow 10K. But we ran a long, slow run on Thursday as well. So I was pretty tired. So yesterday I took off because obviously it was storming and I couldn't run outside. Okay. It's been 18 minutes. I was like, this is gonna be such a short episode, and then of course I just talked for like a year about nothing important as usual. Okay, I started this sweater from my dad. This is a cardigan. It's not a pullover, and then the stoppers are on a good point for you to actually see this. So it looks like it would fit me, but it's like once you kind of block this, and this is knitted from a cone, so it blows up a little bit. But this is just a plain V-neck cardigan. You can sort of see that it has a V-neck. I don't know if you can really see that, but it has kind of gradual V-neck increases up to about the sleeve split when there became an equal number of stitches on the fronts and the back. I split off the sleeves, and then I just started knitting the body. So if you've knit a lot of raglan sweaters, I use the Amy, what's her name? Something handy book of top-down sweaters. It just has a lot of numbers in it for like different yarn weights or gauges and chest sizes, both for adults and children, circumferences. So it's really helpful if you're just trying to like use base numbers for a sweater that you would not like, you want to knit from without a normal pattern. So I used that. Made a steek. They do have a V-neck option, which I sort of followed, and then I ripped back because it wasn't right. It was too shallow of a V. I needed to be increasing every 4 rows instead of every 2. And then it became rounds because I decided that I was just I worked it back and forth for a little while because I didn't have a short enough cable to work in the round with a steek. And then once I had enough stitches, I just joined it and made a steek because I much prefer to knit round and round than to knit purl back and forth. You know, I would like to like once a year do a cardigan where I purl back, just to like keep myself practicing. I probably should do it more often. I just, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, this is for somebody else and I don't want to like row out and have my purls and knits be at different sizes, and you know, so I mean, I need to practice, but there's certain things I'm willing to practice on, and this isn't really one of them because this is for my dad. So this is knitted in Harrisville Highland in Loden Blue. I am using cones. Cones are actually not that much cheaper per yard than, you know, by weight than a skein is of Harrisville Highland. You can get Harrisville Highland at a variety of retailers, but I would just get it from Harrisville. Like when I ordered, I should order from Harrisville. You can get the cones on webs. They don't have every color always. They don't have every color in stock on the website either, but on the Harrisville website. But yeah, like Magpie Fibers actually stocks Harrisville Highland and Shetland. Not very many colors, but they have some, which is interesting to me. I've also seen it before at Pearl Soho in New York, although I don't think they're actually an open store anymore. I think they just do online now. That used to be a really nice store. I'm sad that that's closed. But anyway, this is the colorway Loden Blue. Like I said, I took, well, I like balled up like the last 100 grams on the cone. I think you can kind of mostly see this heathering. If I cover up my face, maybe I'll be able to see it better. There's a flecks and flecks of like a little bit of flecks of gold, some flecks of like a brighter green and like lighter blues. My dad chose the color. Last time I was home, I was like, what color do you want? I'll order this. I'll order a couple cones. And so he got to see this. I was like, had sort of just restarted the yoke. I was probably only had a couple inches. And so he got to see it grow quite a lot. And I was like, because he was like, I don't like, that's not going to be done till Christmas, right? And I was like, watch me. And he watched it, like me knit almost an entire cone of this in like 3 days. And he was like, okay, I look forward to wearing it in 2 to 3 weeks. And I was like, yeah, it'll be done. Like, it's one of those things where like, it's simple and it's really fast. And it's like one of those things where I just have a one-track mind to get it done nice and quick. I will finish the body. Can't decide if I want to. I'll probably block the body when the body's done, and then I'll knit the sleeves and the button band. So you have to block. I mean, you don't have to. I always block a cardigan. Anything where I'm going to pick up the stitches around something, I always block that before I pick up those stitches. So it gets 2 blockings, especially on a cone. I also want to see like how much this grows, lengthwise, if any. When I block it, I think it's more likely to puff up this way because there's spinning wheel on the cone. The cones are made for weaving. It's the same with Jameson and Smith. You can knit off the cones, but it's like a little bit flatter. Like if you looked at this in the skein, it would be like poofy and super round, whereas it looks kind of flat here. So if you're gonna knit off a cone, you absolutely need to make and wash a gauge swatch if you've never done it before. But yeah, it has a kind of distinctive smell. It doesn't smell like lanolin like the J&S cones do. It does smell like, you know, it smells like less processed wool. Harrisville's a mill in New Hampshire, if you've never heard of it. It's not like in the woolly thistle part of New Hampshire, which is an easy part of New Hampshire for me to get to if I'm visiting my parents in Vermont. It's in like southern New Hampshire. So I've actually never been to the mill. I will go at some point. I would love to go. I really love Harrisville's yarn, and they spin their own yarn. They spin Peace Fleece. They spin Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. So speaking of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, I've decided to just get this out because I didn't want to like go talk about other whips because I don't have a whole lot of other active whips. This is kind of it for right now. So like I'm hoping that when you watch me next week, hopefully I record next week. I have a big weekend next weekend too, so we'll see. I should be able to record like when I get home on Sunday though. Or Monday morning, but hopefully that's done. I don't know though, because I have to block the body, and if it's like rainy and stuff this week and it doesn't have time to dry, then you can only do so much. But I decided to get this out to show this is accountability. It's just not what made with Briggs and Little yarn, but this is my Briggs and Little bag. I love Briggs and Little yarn. For those of you who've not watched me long enough to know that, I love it. So this is my like monster behemoth of a cabled cardigan that I started in like January. I guess I can like show you what it looks like on. It's green, it goes with my top. So I have finished one sleeve and I've finished this much of the body. I'm gonna show you the pattern. I'm gonna show you the book that I got it from. This is the Long Road Hoodie from Contrast by Meiju KP. I'm knitting it in Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in the colorway Button Jar. So it's really actually not very tricky, like in terms of the complexity of the cables. You just have these braids. You can tell I blocked the top, and then like this I didn't block because it's like not laying flat. There we go. So these braids are the smaller ones, and then this is the bigger braid, and that's it. They're simple cables. They're easy like to just look at and know. They're very intuitive. That's the word I was looking for. They're intuitive cables, which is nice. I have a ton of needles in here. That's good. Huh. Is this my US 5? Oh, I've been looking for you. No, maybe this is a 32 inch. Yeah, I think it is. And this is a 40 inch. Yes, well, I still can't find my 24 inch 5. I think it's like in my chair, like in my bar chair. And I'm knitting this, like I said, in Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in the colorway Button Jar, which looks like this. Also spun at Harrisville. Button Jar is great. It's like a bottle green with these like flecks of these, like a teal, like a bright turquoise and yellow and other greens, like a Kelly green. And I really think Brooklyn Tweed Shelter has incredible depth of color in just across the board, in every color. Their heathering is so beautiful. And it's really soft and lightweight. What's it made out of? I should know that. It's like Targhee Columbia, I think. American Targhee Columbia wool. Yes, got it right. I have 2 balls in here because I had a couple of different dye lots. There were like 2 of one dye lot and like 9 of another dye lot, or maybe I had 13 skeins. I just got an extra one last weekend, 2 weekends ago when I was in Philly. I got an extra one, which is definitely not the same dye lot. It will be an extremely different dye lot. But again, it was just really for like alternating skeins in case like I wanted to make it a little longer. So the idea with this is that I have a lot of skeins, but I'm not sure how long it will be able to be. So I've decided, or I decided to knit like, I don't know, 3 or 4 skeins of the yarn in the body. So like I did the back and the front separately and then joined them for the yoke to like work long rows back and forth like here. That's what you do. So separate, 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 join them all, and then they tell you to work until X, number of inches, and then however long you want it, and then rib and then bind off. Then you knit the sleeves and you knit the hood. So I think that's how the pattern, that probably, realistically, that's how the pattern is written. So I've decided to knit this much of the body. Then I decided I was going to knit the sleeves, and the sleeves I was going to use my other dye lots so that I could like alternate skeins on the sleeve and the round, which would be like a little bit easier, I thought, just instead of like every other. If I'm knitting back and forth, I do it in the round. Then I'm gonna knit the hood because I don't know how many skeins the hood is gonna take. So I'd rather have like a shorter, like regular length cardigan with a hood than a long cardigan without a hood. I decided I think the hood is so cool. So I'm gonna make the hood next when I'm done with the second sleeve. And then I'm gonna use the remainder of the yarn for the body. And then when I have like half a skein left, I don't know how much I'm gonna need. I'm gonna knit because the button band goes all the way from the bottom of the thing around the hood and then back down the other side. So that's like kind of crazy. It's a lot of button bands. So I'm like, how much of a skein? I don't know how much of a skein I'm gonna need, but I'll probably try not to play yarn chicken. And I'm gonna get some buttons for it. I'm gonna show you this pattern now, which you can sort of see. But this is from the book Contrast by Meiju KP. This is published by Lina a couple of years ago. It's a beautiful book. Really, really nice book. Okay. There it is. This is what the like long hoodie version looks like. And this pattern is great. This is like one of the patterns in this book, maybe the only pattern in this book, where like they have a cardigan version with and without a hood. They have a pullover version. There's a hat. Like you can really like knit starting with whatever you're comfortable with. Like you can just knit as a hat, or you can, yeah, see also long road pullover and hat. You can, you know, try out the stitch pattern with your yarn and see what your gauge is by knitting a hat, which is really cool actually. And the front cover is the pullover version, which is here. To see that up close. And then I think that focused. I actually have no idea because I couldn't see it. And then there's a hat. The graphical cable pattern that is used in all the long road patterns pops out in this one size cabled hat that is unisex. Hat size projects are a great way to learn cables for new cable knitters. Since the hat has only one written size, changing the needle size one size larger or smaller is recommended for size modifications for a child or a larger adult. So I'm not going to show you the pattern, but this is a black and white version of the hat. So you can see the smaller braid in the foreground here, and then right there, that's the like larger cable here. So yeah, this is true. I learned how to knit cables on hats. I got comfortable with cables on hats. It's really just a matter of like, I think for those folks who are like a little hesitant to learn cables or to start cables or try cables, it's not very difficult. Like if you follow the instructions and you have the little cable needle and it says like slip 2 stitches to cable needle, hold cable needle in front of work or back of work, you just let it hang there, knit 2 stitches off cable needle. Like if you just try that, I mean, you can watch a YouTube video too to see like what they're doing. But honestly, like I did this when I was like 8 or 9 and I was like shocked that it worked. That like I just read the instructions and when a cable happened, I was like, it's like magic. It is like magic. It's really simple. And then once you know, get really proficient, especially if you're using woolly or wool, you can do it without a cable needle. And I don't use a cable needle at all for this, especially because the cables are so simple. But yeah, I would use a cable needle if I were using like superwash wool because it slips off the needles and immediately will like start to ladder. Whereas if you use woolly wool and you slip it off the needles, it's not gonna ladder. You just slip them off, kind of poke it to the front, poke the needle back in and just kind of rearrange them and then knit the, yeah. Sometimes like there's 1 or 2 like cables where it's like holding it to the back that I'll slip it. I'll use the cable needle. But most of the time, yeah, nice and unnecessary. Use a cable needle. So that's this. I would like to, at this point, like I'm like, a couple weeks ago I was like, I'd love to have that finished for Rhinebeck. Doubtful. But you know, maybe for Christmas time, it'll be like green and fun. That's an easy one. Maybe by my 30th birthday, which is in November, I'll finish this. As a gift to myself. A couple years ago, I started the tradition of making a sweater for myself for my birthday. And I made myself, the first one was the throwover like jumper, but then I steeked it into a throwback because this is an Andrea Mowry pattern with Spin Cycle. I wanted a cardigan, but I didn't want to work it back and forth. And Andrea Mowry actually wrote the throwback to be knitted back and forth and stranded colorwork back and forth. And I was like, nope, I don't want to purl and colorwork. I think it would be a great skill to learn, but I'm just like, nah, not right now. Maybe someday. It would be a challenge, but it's not really the challenge that my brain is looking for right now. And I'm thinking maybe in the future, it will be a challenge that I decide to take on. It's just not yet. So that's cool. I'm not fussed about it. But yeah, this is my long road cardigan. This is how much I have. I don't know. I feel like I'm about like a third done. I could like look at how much yarn I have left and like weigh it and like weigh this because I can't remember how many skeins I've used. And then see like by weight, I have this much left. But yeah. And there's just like moss stitch to kind of fill things in. You can kind of see that here. Yeah. It's just a really polished piece. And I'm excited. I haven't blocked the sleeves. Not everyone knows this, but cables just, it's like they're all tense when you knit them and then you block it and I just go, it's like me in a yoga class. And again, you can kind of see, you know what, I'm just gonna take this off and put my other cardigan back on and then I'll show you up close, like the part that has, like been blocked so that it's like, you can see how much, like more relaxed it is. Okay. Yeah, so here's the, excuse me, here we go. Here's the like relaxed cables. Again, I don't know if you'll be able to see this just from me showing you this, but like, maybe if I hold up a version of our cables that are not relaxed, you'll be like, oh yeah, but maybe not. I don't know if it'll be super obvious. Here's the difference. You can see these are kind of popping out of the texture a little bit more. Wow, 35 minutes already. Okay, time flies, apparently, when you're feeling so relaxed. So these will just relax into something that's like more like this, just a little bit more like, all right, we've settled into our final Pokemon evolution. Sorry, I didn't actually like play Pokemon when I was a kid, but it's like a thing that millennials talk about. It's like millennial talk, like Pokemon evolution. Like I've reached my final form, my final evolution. I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the Cormo that I was spinning. I think I was spinning this 2 weeks ago. This was my, it came at the end of August. Hello Yarn Fiber of the Month Club. That they paint. It's a hand painted piece of roving, 100 or about 4 ounces of roving you get that's hand painted. This is Cormo. So yeah, you can see there was like some brown, obviously some very dark brown, a lot of like pink and red, and then there was some like kind of blue, like this color blue in it. A lot of it got kind of muddied with pink, which is gorgeous. Anyway, it was called Fig and Old Port, and I did a 2-ply on Thelma, which is my wheel, so my matchless. So it's about a sport to fingering. I think it's about 400 yards on it. Can't super remember, but it's so springy. Like, wow, when I washed it, just like Cormo is really springy. It's known for that. But I prefer Cormo to Rambouillet and Targhee because I don't find it so, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? It drafts a little, there's not so much spring back when you're actually drafting it. It drafted really nicely. I'm thinking about getting a big kind of bump of Cormo at Rhinebeck, but I'm not sure what I'm gonna get at Rhinebeck. I think I might have said this last time. Last year at Rhinebeck had just gotten into spinning, and so I just wanted to like build up a fiber collection. So I got a lot of undyed wool, and then I dyed it, and I just have this huge bag of fiber now that's like dyed scraps of random colors that I use for barber pole yarns. And I also have a lot of fiber that's just like, you know, a pound of Romney, a pound of Shetland, whatever. I dyed most of that too in like larger kind of hand paint situations like this one, as you know, you've probably known if you watch my channel, and I spin my own yarn that I dyed the fleece of and stuff. But yeah, it's Cormo is nice, and I'm thinking of getting at Rhinebeck this year. I think instead of like a lot of smaller things, I would rather get like 2 pounds or something around 2 pounds, maybe 1.5 pounds of like one fiber, probably to dye. I'll dye it some kind of blue, and I would like to spin for, actually I want to make another hoodie. I want to make Andrew Mowry's Traveler hoodie, which is just like really cozy. It just looks like a kind of oversized hoodie, like you pull over, like you can travel with it, you know, it just like, it looks cozy. Speaking of Andrew Mowry and cozy, I actually started a big cozy cardigan about 1.5 weeks ago. The big cozy cardigan is, I'll link it in the show notes. It's really nice. It's just like a giant rectangle you kind of like sew together and like make some little sleeves on it. Again, something I would wear with like my athleisure at home. But yeah, it's just a big piece. I'm making it in like a chocolate brown merino yak yarn from, I think it's from Australia or New Zealand. I got it on Webs like almost 4 years ago, like before COVID, in kind of some kind of super sale. And it's just been kind of sitting around waiting to become something that's sport weight, and I decided I wanted like a variety of kind of cozy cardigans. I feel like this is what I like to wear at home when I'm just kind of like chilling in like my yoga clothes. I just like to throw it on, and so I decided to get to knit. So I mean, this is a cardigan year for me, from one of the things that I'm knitting for myself. I knit my Setostall, that's cardigan. I steeked it. This I have had for a while. The long road hoodie, yeah, just the big cozy, yeah, it's just cardigan. It's a cardigan year for me. I'm just trying to like expand my wardrobe a little bit to have different offerings. I have a lot of pullovers. I have a lot of colorwork sweaters. So a little different, but yes. So this is my Cormo spin, and I'm thinking about getting Cormo for my, like, you know, I want to get a lot of fiber at Rhinebeck from one source, and we'll see what they have. I mean, there's lots of, the real thing to do is get a fleece, but I don't want to process a fleece in the fall and winter. I'd rather get a fleece and process it in the spring or in summer. So I have decided, I've spent a couple of like rabbit hole journeys looking at wool combs, and it's not that complicated to process your own fleece. Like, you just need to wash it with something. Molly washed Archie with Soapwort, my friend Molly, and I got a fleece named Archie at Maryland Sheep and Wool, and she processed, just washed it with Soapwort, which leaves lanolin in, which is nice. It's kind of like a medieval washing technique, scouring technique. And then she has Viking combs, and she just combed it. And I just didn't know how to do that. I didn't know the process. I didn't know if there's any other equipment. I didn't want to get a drum carder because that's really expensive and big. And that's more of a woolen prep, and I spin worsted, so I eventually will probably learn long draw and maybe get like a Saxony style wheel. But for those of you who don't know, a Saxony style wheel is like a Cinderella style wheel, whereas I have a castle wheel, which is just like the orifice is directly on top of the wheel. So it just has a smaller footprint. It's easier to move around. You can like pick it up by the mother of all and just kind of carry it around, even though the matchless is like a 35-pound wheel. That's why people can spin forever on a matchless. Like, you just can go all day because that wheel is heavy, the drive wheel, and it has so much momentum, which is nice. But yeah, speaking of Archie, I have a bobbin of Archie. I don't have a full skein. But anyway, I decided I'm gonna look for Viking combs at Rhinebeck, and if I don't find them at Rhinebeck, I'll just get them from the internet to comb my own next year. So this is a bobbin of Archie in these 3 colors that I spun last week on Thelma. As you can see, this is not an electric eel bobbin. It is a matchless bobbin. It has, it's made of wood. I have a cherry matchless because it's old. They don't make those anymore. But my matchless is from 1988. So it is a cherry matchless and has a single treadle, which is fun. The treadle's a little wobbly, but otherwise it's in perfect condition. So if you're looking to get a used wheel, it's hard to find matchless wheels used because people don't want to get rid of them. It's the best, but if you can find one, it's a good wheel to get used, and they hold their value. So because they go forever. Anyway, 4-ounce capacity bobbins. I spun about 80 grams of this fiber, maybe 70, in these 3 colors. So I will show you what they look like separately because I have not spun the second bobbin yet. So I'm gonna start that tonight. Also, I feel like knitting. But here's my second bobbin's worth of Archie. This is going to be a fractal spin, which means I'm smelling it because it smells like jasmine wool wash, because I dyed these and then I had to wash them in jasmine wool wash so they wouldn't stink like citric acid. Citric acid is not as stinky as vinegar. If you're dyeing yarn and you're using an acid to bind the dye to the protein fiber, it's not as stinky as vinegar, but it's pretty stinky. So the jasmine wool wash just makes it smell nice, not like a wet animal as much. So this is a fractal. I split the first 3 of these into 6 pieces each. Applied green, brown, teal, green, brown, teal, green, brown, teal. So in order to do a true fractal, I would probably split these into 3 pieces each, and then the colors will change at half the rate they change on this bobbin, and then you'll get the barber pull effect of a fractal spin where the colors all mix kind of evenly. There's even barber pulling, like you're not just getting like brown on brown on brown on brown and then like no green on green, it's like the idea is that it's somewhat evenly spaced out, the color changes in a generally controlled way. I don't weigh pieces, I just rip them into the look and I'm like, that looks like a third. You could, but even then your singles would have to be like super, super precise and all the same and consistent. Like I'm not quite there. I know that spinning is a lifelong hobby and I will be perfecting my default yarn for my entire life. And that is part of the beauty of it, because I can still spin yarns that like I want to use. Like this is really pretty. If you have ideas for how I should use this, please tell me, because I'm not sure. Could be color work, but I feel like there's enough light in it that it might not pop against like a white background. Unless I did something with like big motifs that are all like, instead of, they aren't just like little lice patterns or something, but it's like, like Ice Fall by Tin Can Knits, which has the hearts and then the upside down hearts that are kind of more solid. That might work for something like this. But if you have suggestions for patterns, I'm always open to them. Unless I've already started knitting something, in which case there's a chance I'll rip it out and you can still tell me what you think I should make with it if you don't agree with me. I welcome feedback. That's how we get better. Yeah. Sometimes I get mad about feedback, but I always take it. That's how everyone is. I mean, everyone should have an emotional response to feedback, but as long as you then process your feedback, in a healthy way and understand that the person who gave it to you is trying to make you better, feedback is a great thing. So it's been 45 minutes and it's now like 5:20, so I really need to dismember a chicken and make some soup. So yeah, it's been nice. Nice to be here. Yeah, I think that's all. Busy week coming up, but I think I'll be able to record next weekend or early next week. So you should see me back here. But if you don't, I'll be back in a couple weeks. I promise. Yeah, gonna get this cardigan for my dad finished, get the cathedral sent to Jennifer, and then once that cardigan is finished, start back up on that long road hoodie. Get back into the swing of the cables. I do like knitting cables when I kind of can get into the mental headspace of knitting cables. I really don't knit cables when I'm not like actively working on a cable piece. But when I'm there and I'm in the mental space for it, I don't find it to be challenging. My brain kind of is like in the zone, like coming back to the zone every day, like regularly. So that's helpful. So yeah, I think that's it. I have a big week coming up as always, but I should get some knitting done. I'm like being a little bit more smarter. I know English. I'm trying to be a little bit smarter about downtime, but we'll see. I have a lot of chores to run this week, so hopefully I have some nice time to knit while still doing all the things that I want to do, like run like a crazy person and do my job and be social. So that's fun. Yeah, but thank you so much for watching. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye.